do it.
but I was thinking about just using the stuff within the GoToMeeting.
Yep. Cool. So, Tom, what we'll be covering today here is the workshops, and I think I shared earlier with you when we were on just in our last workshop that we ran, we had 75 people register. So this is not for our webinar here, but it's uh, for the workshops for Madden PT. So we had 75 people register. We had 53 people in attendance, so we had 31 people scheduled that day. So I know you and I talk about the three pillars quite a bit and how important that marketing pillar is as well. And you know, as I shared with you already, in the past, I think the technical end of what you're doing is key for us in private practice. That we need to be providing good quality care and high quality care and getting results. And I know I love that Dean Volk video that he just posted where I think she was a knee. She couldn't squat. A knee
Yeah,
patient.
he just he just did a new one too with a shoulder one. He's an animal with that.
Oh yeah, he has another testimonial video.
I'll bring it out here in a second, but I'm floored that you got 75 people on your last one because I like how you kind of only say 21 on your marketing and stuff like that to make it real, but the 75 people, it's just, we're building to it.
Yeah, it's the one really cool thing is the longer we go with the same exact copy, we haven't changed the copy at all other than the date, but the longer we go, the better response we're getting.
And how many different community papers now are you using?
Uh, as of today, we're in three.
Three. Okay.
Yeah, and
That's
we'll
that's what I'm having a little harder problem finding community papers.
once you eliminate the community paper, just um, move on to the next media.
Cool.
Yep. So in your area, are outside of like do you have weekly papers in your area?
No, no, we don't. Or I haven't found. I've been looking them up. We've got one big paper, and I've been trying to look for other. They've got a little health fair paper that comes out once a month. Didn't think that was pulling. I haven't pulled that. I haven't tried that one yet. But right now we've got community papers that are because we're in a large area. You guys, what's Harrisburg up there? How big are you guys?
It's within our county there are 100,000 households, so
Uh,
about 300,000 people.
Okay, so we're hitting about a million. We're over a million. So when I send out, if I were doing a newspaper, it goes to about 67,000 or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, and so when I do the uh, what I do is there's segments of areas that we've tested two of them. First one did really well, and then we're trying to hit probably four of them total for a bit. Just because I don't know what you guys pay. What do you pay for your newspaper ads?
They're dirt cheap, $200.
Hey, see, man. I think I'm gonna. Again, mine aren't bad. Are you doing half page or 5 by 10s?
We do half page, yeah, 8.5. The
Hey,
all of our weekly papers are 8.5 by 11 is a half page.
wow. Yeah. No, we're 600-700 bucks for that.
Yeah, you know what? You just reminded me. Let me go grab an actual. I'll grab the actual ad. I just saw they just dropped it off here about 2 minutes ago while I was
Cool.
filling up my water. Let me grab that. I'll be right back.
Yeah, man.
Cool. Feel free to
Hey,
update
everybody. For
everybody
those of you,
on your on your findings on your statistics for the TMR that we talked about earlier, because I think that's really key about how you started tracking graduation rate and schedule rate and defining discharge. That's a nugget that
okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
cool. I'll be right back.
Just for those of you who just joined, want to let you know we're going to get started here in a couple minutes. Chad's just grabbing some stuff to show you guys some of the actual ads he runs for his workshops. He's going to get those to show you, but just a couple things We've got if you're logged into GoToMeeting control panel, you can see there's a question box. If you have any questions at all, go ahead and punch those questions in there, and we'll get to them at the end. And then just below where you see it says questions, there's also some handouts. In there you'll see there's a worksheet that you can use during this webinar, and Chad goes really fast with this, so it's really good to open that up and print it out and follow along and take notes with that, because it fills out a lot of the stuff that you'll need to be writing down anyway, so it helps you take notes there. And we're really excited. We've got 180 people registered for this, and we've got our special guest Tom Delonzo Baker on, who's a good friend, and yeah, you all know him. So yeah, we're excited to have everybody here. I'll let you take it, Chad.
All right. You're still there, Tom?
I'm here. Yep, sure I am.
Cool. So it's funny how, like, me actually grabbing the paper and looking at it, they messed it up, but I know it's still pulling. So this is the first time we're in this paper, but they put us in the sports section, which is horrible for us.
Right.
But I know that we had 4 people call the first day that it was in, but it's you can see this whole ad right here, they outlined, which shouldn't be there, but they have the little paid advertisement, which everybody does, but the font matches the font of the surrounding newspaper article, the local high school news. But yeah, we shouldn't be in sports. We should be in the living section, but that's okay. It still worked.
Hey, so you didn't do in columns. You just did it. They ran all the way across, because that still looks like a 5 by 10 rather than 8.5 by 11.
Yeah. So this is this paper is configured differently. It's in 3 columns, and they just put us in 1/3 of the column. If you can see that. So this is just us right here. But yeah, I think you're right on there. We might have a little more vertical than 10 inches. Looks to be about 14, maybe like a 5 by 14 or 5 by 13.
Okay, cool.
Cool. So yeah, we'll get rolling here. And here's what I'm going to share today, Tom. We'll go through, anytime that you do a workshop, goal number 1 is to get really butts in seats. And so I'll show you how we're doing that. And again, I'll share the exact system that we're doing, of how we had 75 people register for our last workshop. And, I probably should have looked at what our exact numbers were. I have another one coming up this Saturday, but I know, like, the first week in September, we already had 13 people registered, and we build every week. So I'll be sharing that system. And then once the room is packed, a lot can go right and a lot can go wrong. And the whole idea of, once you have an audience of people, is to convert those people over to paying patients, because they've raised their hand. They've said, yes, I have back pain, I have sciatica, I have a neck problem, I have shoulder problem, whatever it is we're running our workshop on. And then it's time to roll over and actually convert that person over to a paying patient. So I'll be sharing that step as well. And then once they come in for their eval, I know the important point that you and I were talking about earlier was the importance of scheduling out a full plan of care on day 1 and having that person bought into the plan of care. Did you guys talk about that a little bit with you and Carl?
No. He was just telling them their way around the GoToMeeting, so we didn't get into any of that.
Okay. So yeah, so it's once they come in.
We've got a lot of people. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just saying we had a lot of people. New people are piling on right now. Another 20 people just joined, so I was just reiterating all the stuff about how everything works.
Okay. Yeah, we'll take a step back here before I get started too, and just do a little housekeeping. Yeah. So the third thing is that once people schedule for an appointment, that they convert over to a full plan of care. And I know at Total Motion PT, you guys schedule the full plan of care on the day of
Yes,
the eval?
we started tracking that because we're like, this is kind of frustrating. And so what we did is we said, so let's start tracking how many people are scheduling out. And we're now at, I think out of the last 14 weeks, only 2 weeks we not schedule 100% of our new patients out, which has been incredibly helpful on the admin part because they don't have to keep going back and scheduling them, but it also lets us know whether our dialogue or our script for the eval is enticing people, what obstacles we might be running into. So highly recommend that.
Yeah, that's really, really smart, Tom. Cool. Awesome. So there you got a nugget before we even started. As we're going throughout here, if you have a question, there are 2 places that you can ask a question, and we will have a segment of a block of time here at the end for Q&A, but you can ask in questions or chat. The best place to do it is within the question bar. So if you're on your PC or your computer, your laptop right now, you can ask a question in the questions menu as we're going throughout here. And I'll make sure that I, again, allot time at the end where we can get you that answered. Also, I think there's over 180 people registered for this. I know people are coming in right now as well. So yeah, so I know people will be trickling in as we're going throughout here. And what we'll do at the end, if you stay on to the end, I'll do a walkthrough of the clinic and show you, this is a Tuesday, so we just finished up our treatment day already, but I'll show you, we'll do a walk around of the clinic as well if you hang out here on at the end. So we'll get started right now on the workshops, and thanks for being on, Tom.
Hey, buddy, appreciate it. I'm glad. I'd love to know who's on and stuff like that. Do you ever make them just say hey and hi and hello or anything?
Yeah, we can do that. So yeah, if you're on right now, and are you looking for mainly people that you know?
Yeah, I mean, do you guys even have, you've got everything muted, right? Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of people I've talked to over time, and they've been looking for,
Yeah.
Look, we just want something to begin the process. I think one of the hardest things that I think we as practice owners are seeing is something simple we can begin with, right, to start getting patients through the door, especially if you're in a direct access state. And that's one of the things that caught me when I saw your thing. You're doing something so simple and so easy, and you're just maintaining it like for a couple $100 to get people through the door. And then it's about making sure they schedule more after that, which I think of all the things I've seen over the years, that's what's so powerful about the idea of workshops and the way in which you advertise those workshops.
Yeah, man. It's content marketing is extremely powerful, especially as a physical therapist. So yeah, Tom, I mean, you nailed it. It's one of the 3 pillars. It's a very simple process. And yeah, so if you're friends with Tom or you know Tom, just type in the question box that you're here. There you got one from Andrew Vertson right away. Hey, Andrew.
I guess we all don't see him. So, hey, but I did want to make one more comment on it, is that the idea that you mentioned this some in your master thing, but this idea that it's working for him and he's bringing in general public, right? And a lot of times when I talk to owners about my courses, they're wanting to talk about marketing and stuff too. And the idea that you're bringing in general patients, not having to rely so much on doctors, and I know you're going to talk about that somewhat, but they were looking for that thing, and for you to hold an entire workshop and be able to give them the print that they can take. Again, I've used this same thing to bring in patients to my clinic, so this is what we're doing every month too. So those of you who know me and maybe got online because of me, well done getting here.
Cool. So yeah, a couple more people. Michelle Hannikin and Proact.
Hey, Michelle.
And
see, that's why I said it. And these questions so I can see them, so I can type to these people and say, yep. Come on, Carl, make it so that I can see these people.
All right.
It's be hard time.
Yeah, Mickaleen, looks like Mickaleen Bodie or Mickaleen Boddie is on as well. Proact Fit. Awesome. So thanks everybody for being on. We'll get started here, and yep. All right. So this is a work. So, 1 second.
Learn how to use that new Mac, are you?
Just give me 1 second here. I just need to clear timing. There we go. All right. All right, so this is a seminar that I held in June, and it was actually the one where we had a room full of 25, 26 people, and 21 people ended up scheduling. So what I'm going to share with you today is exactly what I do here in my private practice, Madden PT, and
Hey,
this
Tom.
is,
Let me Chad.
yeah,
I I only see you right now. I see no other.
there
I
you
don't
go.
see your screen. Beautiful.
Now I think we're good, right?
You're good.
All right, thanks, Tom.
Yeah.
So again, this is how to host killer workshops and magnetically attract new patients, exactly as Tom said, without relying on physician referrals. So my goal for you is at the end of this that you have a very simple system, marketing system that you can put in place in your private practice so that you can attract people from the general public, people who don't necessarily know you or were referred to you, but they can come in, they can raise their hand, they say, yes, I have back pain, I have sciatica, I have neck pain, and I want your help. So if you stay until the end, again, I'll do a walkthrough of the clinic here and give you a heads up for how our clinic is laid out, and I'll show you the actual room where we hold our workshops and where we're holding one this Saturday. So what makes this different? Well, the key is that, like you, I'm in the trenches. So this is a picture of me with my daughter. My wife and I have 4 boys, and we finally had a little girl. But like I said, I'm an actual private practice owner. I opened Madden Physical Therapy September 2nd, 2003. So just celebrated 12 years in private practice. At one point, I grew the practice 600% in 30 months. And this was after about 2 or 3 years of just grow my practice to about 100 visits a week and then crashing it down to 60. And I just did that repeatedly over and over again. And then once I learned how to market my practice, we grew again 600% in 30 months. Right now, I'm the #1 most watched back pain and sciatica specialist in the world. That's just per the stats that we have on YouTube. Unless somebody paid for the video to be ranked higher than what I am right now, which we don't do at all. I have the #1 video in the world for sciatica exercises, #1 video for stenosis, etc. We get about 200,000 views a month just on YouTube. So I've also written a book called Back to Normal. The chief content creator for Breakthrough PT Marketing and the Killer Marketing course, which is where we've helped over 150 practice owners now develop marketing systems for their private practice. I've done some stuff in commercial real estate. Again, I have 5 children, 4 boys and a girl, 1 wife. Right now we have 3 mini donkeys. We're getting 2 more, 7 chickens, 2 cats, and a border collie puppy named Georgia. So now that you know about me, along the way I've done a lot of things right, and I've done a lot of things wrong. So a lot of learning experience. My goal for you again is that you get the shortcut by what I'm sharing with you today, and you don't have to go through all of the painful learning experiences that I've had, especially the ones that have cost me time and money. So after failing at workshops for 2 years, and let me give you an idea of why I started looking into doing workshops. The area that I'm in, we have 3 hospital systems that own 70% of the referral sources in my area. And we also have 4 large POPS practices within 5 miles of my office. I also happen to be headquartered less than 6 miles away from a large corporate PT company that has over 100 clinics. And I'm also less than 13 miles away from the corporate headquarters of the #1 largest PT practice in the United States, which is Select Medical. So there's a ton of competition in my area, and I just saw that our physician referrals were drying up or going away, regardless of what we were doing. And we were rocking it. We were at the high in 2007. We were 154 new patients in a month that came by way of physician referral. And I knew that if I was going to rely on physician referral, that I would wake up one day and likely be out of business or have a really, really small practice. So after failing at workshops for 2 years, here's what I discovered. I discovered what workshops can do for my private practice and what they can do for yours. It's a really big deal if you don't have to rely on physician referrals. And if you know how to turn on the spigot where every month you have people raising their hand, coming to see you to gather information. And it's really cool if those people are willing to overcome the standard obstacles to care of time, distance, and money. So breaking that down farther, I learned how to attract an audience. So our first game, if you were on earlier when I was talking with Tom, is to put butts in seats. Like, we want to fill our room. If we have 10 seats, if we have 20 seats, if we have 100 seats, we want to learn how to fill that. And I'm going to share that with you here today. Also, how to convert an audience member, usually a skeptical audience member, over to a paying patient. Very important skill to have. And again, I discovered all this the hard way. You get to cheat and take a huge shortcut. So the hard way is, if you're following my blog post, I wrote about this, but it's presenting the same exact way we did in physical therapy school, which is where we're talking at our audience. And I'll share here in a little bit of a practice owner who took our marketing materials, marketed it everywhere, had 20 people register and come to his event, and converted only 2 of those. And that's really, really painful. And in this practice owner's mind, he did really well in his presentation. When I went back and looked at it, he was basically talking at them the whole time. Yes, he was giving great solutions. Yes, I understood because I was a physical therapist, but he was talking way over the heads of his audience members. So presenting the same way we did in PT school, I can tell you right now, does not work. I've had people fall asleep during my workshop, which is really embarrassing. That doesn't happen anymore. And also having no audience. At one point we spent $5,000 in promoting our workshop, and we had nobody actually show up. So we had 2 people register. They both no-showed on me. So I spent $5,000 promoting a workshop and had nobody there. Really, really embarrassing, and a huge loss of money. Very deflating to the morale of our staff as well. We had a receptionist who went crazy and got a huge spread, and we had fruit and donuts and croissants and coffee, everything laid out. Nobody showed up. Pretty embarrassing. I've been through that. So do you want the super simple way that packs the room and has people racing to schedule an appointment? And yes, we've actually had people run, so they beat somebody else to the appointment window from a workshop. So in the past 12 months, I've attracted over 1,050 direct access patients, and I didn't do a single physician luncheon within the last year. And right now is a really good time for a fair and legal disclaimer. So when I share the results of how these systems work for me, or how they've worked for other practice owners, they by no means are a promise of how well they will work for you. Other private practice owners have done amazing, some even better than what I have done, and others have done worse. So the 3 big secrets for hosting workshops. Secret number 1 is the 3 reasons why and being the hunted. So I'm going to give you the 3 reasons why you want to be exploring and mastering how to host a workshop. And being the hunted here, we'll talk about here in a second, but it's really, really key if you understand this concept of how to become the hunted versus going out and hunting referrals. Secret number 2 is the 3 skills to master for you to host an absolutely killer workshop. And then secret number 3 are the rookie mistakes that you're going to want to avoid if you don't want to waste time and money. So secret number 1, the reasons why and being the hunted. So my biggest reason that I love workshops is information is the best lead magnet. And if you've read, again, any of my blog posts about the patient funnel experience, where I go through and I talk about the 6 different steps in the marketing funnel. First of all, if you even know about the marketing funnel, you are way ahead of most private practice owners. most owners only think of their physical therapy business as the third step, which is called core service. There is a soft landing ahead of that, which is a lead magnet and tripwire offer. And for just to summarize this really quick for you, people that consume information, that raise their hand and say, yes, I want to watch your video, I want to read your book, I want to read your report, I want to attend your workshop. Those type of people tend to have higher compliance. They'll respect you more for your expertise. They come in pre-framed because they've consumed information versus like you giving them a free TheraBand or free BioFreeze, and that's the reason that they're coming in, or a $10 gift card or something like that. Like the first thing that I want somebody from the unwashed masses and the general public to consume of mine is I want them to raise their hand and say, yes, I want your information. So to me, by far, if you test information versus a product such as BioFreeze, a t-shirt, sweatshirt, a TheraBand, anything like that at all, or versus a free service like a free exam, information reigns king. It is supreme. So you attract a much better client, one who's much easier to convert over to a full plan of care. So to me, information is the best lead magnet. And again, the lead magnet is just that soft landing at the head of your patient funnel. Another reason why is it allows you to build systems by leveraging your time with one-to-many selling. So, many of us, at least this is what I did when I didn't know any better. When I first opened my private practice, I would go out and try to sell one-to-one to a referral source. So maybe a physician, maybe a specialist like an orthopedic surgeon, maybe a PA, or maybe a nurse practitioner. But I would try to do that. And what I learned is it's a lot better if it's one time through for me, like an hour presentation in a workshop, and I have 20 people in the room. Because I can, rather than 20 hours, because I would have had to go out and talk to 20 different people for 30 to 45 minutes or even an hour. So 20 hours of total time or 1 hour of total time. I want to spend my time treating and working on my business rather than going out and chasing referrals. So what the workshop did for me was it allowed me to build systems by leveraging my time with one-to-many selling. And you can take advantage of that same exact concept. And the real reason why, which I really love, is early on in my private practice career, I felt like I was hunting. I felt like I had to go out and hunt and chase referrals. And now, this is really cool, but we've actually flipped the script, and now I'm being the hunted. And the reason I have Kentucky up here is we just had a couple, and I'll show you a picture here in a second, a couple fly in from Lexington, Kentucky, who found me by way of YouTube. And by the way, my YouTube videos are nothing more than little snippets of what I present in the workshop. But it's that same exact idea of content marketing or information as a lead magnet. And they end up flying in for 4 days of physical therapy service. And by the way, they didn't fly here for any other reason other than PT service. And then they flew home, and now they're flying back again here in a couple weeks for a follow-up set of appointments. So that's really, really powerful. So think about that. Somebody got on a plane. They overcame all time, distance, and money. They basically handed the credit card and said, I'm willing to pay whatever it costs to, for you to help me because I believe that you can help me. And they overcame all those barriers. I didn't have to break out my pom-poms and cheerlead them along about that, our office was only 15 miles away from where they lived. And, if they came at 3:30, the traffic wouldn't be that bad. And, the copay, maybe we can create a payment plan and all this other stuff that we normally have to do, helping patients solve the problem of time, distance, and money. If you truly understand this concept, it's really, really powerful to become the hunted. And so not only now do we have the story of Kentucky when I originally did this, but last week we had somebody call from Atlanta, schedule an appointment, and they're flying up just for an appointment to see one of our therapists. And we just had somebody else fly in from Montana. So you can see pretty quick we have a national reach, for lack of a better term, where people are willing to overcome time, distance, and money just to reach out and receive our physical therapy services. So secret number 2 is the 3 skills you need to master to host a killer workshop. And the first one is you need to attract an audience. And this is not an original piece from me, but I've studied a lot of direct response marketing, which, by the way, if you're a scientist, which all of us are as a physical therapist, it's really, really intelligent to treat your marketing the same way. And the best way to do that is with direct response marketing, because it allows you to see and test what exactly is working and what's not. Do more of what works, less of what doesn't. And one of my favorite people to learn from is Dan Kennedy. And Dan teaches something called the market message media match triangle. And basically, anytime you're running a promotion, if you have selected the right market and you have the right message going to them and you're using the media that they typically consume and use, then you're going to have a winner. And if any of those areas are missing, then your triangle is going to collapse and you're not going to have a successful promotion. And I've seen way too many people have the right message and the right market, but the wrong media, or vice versa. So they had the right message, they had the right media, but they were advertising to the wrong market. So you get to pick the exact audience that you want to treat. For us, we found that 45 to 65 year old affluent females who are mothers or wives are fantastic at responding. So that's who we target in our marketing. The second skill to master is how to convert to a paying patient. Again, I know this is on your worksheet, but it's really, really important. So the first thing is, like, now once you've filled the room and you have a room full of skeptical people, like I had 53 at our last workshop, just staring at you, wanting to learn or consume valuable information about how you can help them. The one thing that I do is, before I give them any information, we have everybody in the room stand up, bend forward, bend backwards, side to side. So just a straight lumbar test, and this is for a lower back pain and sciatica workshop. And then what I'll do is I'll pick an audience member that I see struggling, and I'll treat them in front of everybody. So we do test, treat, retest. And I just show that the type of treatment that I use is effective. And yes, I don't know if anybody was on for, I think it was back in January or February, I did a live workshop. It was one where we had 106 people register. We had 86 people show up. A lot of it was our past patient list. Was not open to the general public. And so I went through, I did my manual therapy. The person did not respond at all. He had sciatica symptoms. I went through and I did TMR, and he went, wow, that's a lot better. So, but I wanted to show that I know what I'm talking about. And what that does for you is, the second that you show that you can produce a result, most people in the audience, all their skepticism just goes away right away. And it becomes the question that they're asking themselves when they're sitting there before the demonstration is, I'm in pain. Can this person really help me? Once you do the demonstration and you show that you can be effective, it takes a little guts, it takes a little bravo and showmanship or showwomanship. But once you do that, all the doubt goes away. And it doesn't really matter what you say after that. If you do a good demonstration, you just want to keep it basic after that. But it sets the tone for the entire hour. The second part of that is use a worksheet, exactly as we're using right now. So if you go into the handouts, I have the worksheet in there. You can print that out, follow along with this presentation. We do that same exact thing for our back pain and sciatica workshop. We have 3 major points. And what it does is it keeps people engaged, and then we have an offer at the end if they complete the worksheet. And what will happen is, when you do this the right way, you'll watch the excuses vanish. So time, money, and distance. If you do a workshop and you do it well and you master these skills, and by the way, I wasn't always as polished as I am right now, and I'm a far cry from being polished in the workshop. And I'll talk about my downfalls here in a second, but you can do this. But what will happen is, as your skill set advances and you get better and more proficient at this, at hosting a workshop, the excuses will vanish, and you won't have to take on the issues of time, money, and distance as being a barrier between patients and you and the care that they're about to receive from you. So secret number 3 is not making the mistakes most practice owners do, and I did for years. So let's go through these. I think I have 6 or 7 here. The first one is the topic is not specific enough. So if I go back to my old promotions, I would try to be everything to everybody. And specifically, here I'm talking about diagnosis. So like I would try to do back pain, hip pain, knee pain, lower extremity radiculopathy, lymphedema, balance, gait, all in one workshop. And guess what? That doesn't work. So if you try to be everything to everybody, you end up being nothing to no one. Now, I know there's a couple double negatives in there, but I think you get the idea that if you're not specific enough, you're gonna miss the target. So right now, what I've found to be most successful, and we've tested neck, shoulder, hip, knee, balance. Our most successful one has been lower back pain and sciatica, but we're very specific about that. Mistake number 2 that I see is not enough promotion. So many times I'll see like an owner running like one ad in the local paper, or they send out a postcard to like 100 past patients and they're hosting a workshop, or they hung a flyer in their waiting room. Like the average practice owner greatly underestimates the amount of effort and promotion that needs to happen for you to fill the room. But once you've committed to that date, you want to give yourself at least 4 weeks of promotion in advance. So, and I'll give you a peek into my time schedule right now. So this Saturday, which is, I believe, September 26th, I'm hosting a workshop. The second that workshop is over and we get everybody scheduled, next week, we'll begin promoting for our October workshop, which I believe is October 31st, if memory serves me correct. So the second that the workshop is done, we begin promoting for the next workshop. You should be doing that same exact thing. You kind of work yourself into like a nice little workshop rhythm, and they get better and better as you go along. So not enough promotion is another key one. The third one is no specificity. So not really selecting a market, again, trying to be everything to everybody. So here we're not talking about diagnosis, but here we're trying to attract the 23-year-old mother with back pain. And we're trying to attract the 85-year-old with severe stenosis. You kind of have to you have to pick one specific market and focus on that and just own that market. You can build out and add on throughout time. But again, we have found that 45 to 65, and there's a lot of reasons for that. One, that group tends to have more expendable income. Kids are moving out of the house. They have a little empty nest syndrome. Now they have time to take care of their body. Body's a little bit more broken down than it was before. And the same exact thing, like we can justify why we market specifically to a mother or a wife, is because they're likely the appointment makers that if they don't have back pain themselves, but their husband does, they'll drag their husband to the workshop. So make sure that you're very specific in the market that you're trying to attract as well. Number 4 is poor message or no message at all. We had a graphic designer when I started. So the actual ad that I'm using right now is it's 100% copy. It's almost anonymous. So you'd have a lot of trouble deciphering other than where the workshop was. Like there's no branding. I don't have a logo. And when I first proposed, both my internal marketing or my external marketing employee and the designer who we work with, they said, no, this isn't going to work. Let me dress it up. And they basically pared it down to bullet points. And guess how much we got from that? 0. So I said, okay, I'll pay for it. We'll run your ad. We did it. Nobody registered. And I said, okay, now we do my ad. And it's 100% copy. And I think that was the one where we had 25 people register, 21 converted to paying patients. And that was the end of the conversation. So poor message, long copy conveys a much stronger message. It also forces people to read, which buys you time. And I'll just tell you right now, it buys you a better client coming in and a better audience. Another mistake that I see is wrong media. So, if you're targeting 45 to 65-year-olds, I wouldn't start with Facebook. I might work up to there, or I wouldn't start with radio, and specifically radio on a pop or rock station. It's you really want to match up and think about whoever it is that you decide that you want to attract and you want to fill your room with. What do they listen to? What types of media are they reading, watching, listening to? And you want to use that media. And then the last one is no demonstration. So, yeah, am I putting myself out there with a net when I'm treating somebody in front of a group of 52 other skeptical individuals? Absolutely. But what was that lady's name? Bernadette was our volunteer at the last one. She stood up. We retested her. She had minimal pain. That whole process took about 5 minutes. We had a lady in on Monday crying, literally huge tears, because we could not treat her right then and there because she was a Medicare patient and she had to go through her doctor to get a referral and sign plan of care, but she was demanding to be treated right now. And then we had to go through that whole process. So, but no demonstration. The demonstration is hugely powerful. Put yourself out there without a net, get a response in a short period of time, and show that your therapy service is effective. So what workshops did for me, this is an actual graph that I have in hanging in my office, but it's a quarterly graph of the number of new patients that we've seen here at Madden PT. And you can see specifically, I know you can't see my arrow on the screen, but in like the third line over is where we really started to master workshops, and it sent us through the roof, and we were attracting more business than we knew what to do and handle. We only had 3 full-time therapists at the time, and I think we were seeing 184 new patients a month. It created a whole other problem for us that we didn't have, and then I learned how to control the spigot a little bit better and control the type of patient who was coming in. But it gave us tremendous growth. And again, it was just by going through, figuring out how to track people, figuring out how to convert those skeptical audience members over to patients. And then the other thing that we do is we record. So every time I do a workshop, we record it. And then what you can do is you can use that for future reference. So again, it's that one-to-many. So you might only have 20 people in the room, but if you record it, you might be able to get that recording to 1,000 other people, which is really, really cool. And the results speak for themselves. So in the last 30 minutes, would you agree that it's been time well spent so far? And I can't cover everything that you need in an hour webinar, and I probably couldn't do it even if we had all day. So I have a special offer so you can get everything you need to know. And if you act fast, I'm going to give you a very special deal. So I know that, and I'm sure Tom can vouch for this as well. Like, I know that the first time that I ever learned TMR, I went back on Monday. It was so cool getting that information. And actually, originally it was a staff member. So the staff member showed me how to use it. And then I went back to the clinic and I just went back to the old way of doing things. And it took a little bit of repetition for me to actually begin implementing it into my daily practice life. But those old habits die hard. And I don't want this to be something that you watch and you think, wow, that's really cool. That's great that it's working for Chad and for some other practice owners that I'll share with you here in a second. And then you just go back to doing things the old way. So again, I'm going to share with you exactly how I made this day happen. And by the way, the guy on the table, his name was Willie. I just saw him here in the clinic walking through. I think he was bringing actually a friend here, but you can see everybody filling out their little green worksheets and nobody falling asleep in this one. And I think, Willie ended up doing really well in the demonstration and we rocked it. So 21 of the 25 people scheduled. So do you want to see a new training? Something altogether new, and I'll explain why it's altogether new here in a second. But if I could show you a super simple way to magnetically attract new patients who won't complain about time, money, or distance, would you be interested? If you are, just type in the question line, go to the question box where you can interact with me and type new, and I'll get started here. All right, we got people doing it right away. Fantastic. So really quick, this is the couple from Kentucky, and again, it's the power of so they basically found me, but it's the power of recording your workshop and getting it out there. took a little snippet, did a 3-minute video, put it out on YouTube. The gentleman was looking for solutions after a 25-year history. And by the way, he would share this whole story with you. He's entrepreneurial and understands what I'm doing and the power of sharing the story. So he reached out to me via email. We exchanged some emails. I said, hey, this sounds pretty simple. I think it's something we can help. He arranged for a private plane to fly them from Kentucky to Harrisburg, asked me where to stay for 4 days. They did so. They followed through, and I treated them first thing in the morning for 4 days in a row. They're now arranging a follow-up sequence of appointments, and this is his lovely wife, Grace. So what I used to offer, because I told you this is new, and I got in trouble for this old offer, but I need to show you this first, is the actual postcard and print ad that I use for attracting people to workshops. And we gave that out copyright free. So that means that you could take the copy, adjust it how you needed it, which was pretty much put in your practice name and the date that you want to host the workshop. And then the worksheet that I used to convert skeptical audience members to paying patients, we gave that in the old offer. The How to Host Killer Workshops training, which it is something that at one point was reserved, and again, it's only reserved for practice owners that I work with. They're in a whole other program that we don't have time to go in here. But a 63-minute in-depth training on what to say in the mental triggers. So what you say in the workshop is important. So we did that as well. And we gave 2 bonuses with this. The first one was a 7-step killer exam, which if you've heard of my killer marketing training, it's one of the bonuses that you get in the very beginning of that. And it's basically how to do a history so that it pre-frames your plan of care presentation so that people schedule out for the full plan of care on day 1. Tom and I were talking about that briefly before this, the workshop webinar, but it's really, really important that you have scripted at least an outline of what to say to a patient. And by the way, I'll give you the best question from there. If you learn nothing else and just implement this, you're going to get a lot of value out of our time spent together here. But it's, have you ever had physical therapy before? Because if you don't uncover that, and somebody had a past bad experience, and by the way, they misperceive chiropractic care, massage therapist, athletic trainer, their DO manipulating them, they'll misconstrue that as physical therapy, or they'll misconstrue like P90. I've had people call P90X physical therapy, but it's the most valuable question to ask in there. And then once you get the answer to that question, there's a certain way to handle that. But that's the 7-step killer exam. The second bonus that I gave away was a 90-day inner circle package. And that's I do really valuable calls with industry leading experts every month. We record that. We also have an Inside Circle secret Facebook page where owners that go through the killer marketing program and they get access to that. So we also included that for 90 days and had crazy tremendous value. So let me show you also who this has worked for. So it's worked for private practice owners who've been hit like I have by POPs, practices, and hospitals buying referral sources. It's worked for cash pay private practices. It's worked for PTs all over the US. And now we just picked up one in Australia. And by the way, the Australian physios went nuts with this. They may have had the best result ever. So case study of Gilbert PT. Highest profitability in any given year was $37,000. And then so originally when I wrote the workshop postcard, the original copy was for Mike Gilbert. And this year alone, in the first 6 months, profitability was up to $117,000. And then he had at his last workshop, which was the 7th consecutive month of using the same exact copy, he had 34 people register for his workshop. So if all this did was add 10 new patients per month to your private practice, would it be worth it? If all it did was get rid of you relying on physician referrals, would it be worth it? If all it did was help you attract better patients who hunted you out and respected your expertise, would it be worth it? And really quick math, what's a new patient worth to you? So what is a full plan of care worth to your private practice and your business bottom line? Is it, like I've heard states where the reimbursement's rather low and fixed, and it's, as I think the lowest I've heard so far is 560 in actual income for the average plan of care. And then if you take the national average, it's 11 visits at $90 average income average reimbursement per visit. So that's $990 for a plan of care. And I know a lot of practices that are over that. So what's one patient worth to you? And how much would you pay to get, if it's just 10 new patients, $10,000 each month? So if you were to add 10 new high quality patients each month to your private practice, imagine how your life would change. So another, what I'm about to share with the workshop postcard and the copy, it's really, really powerful. It's kind of like a bazooka, but you can also make mistakes with a bazooka. You can also make some really costly mistakes with the workshop postcard. And again, just to reiterate, we had a practice owner who had 20 people register and attend his workshop, and 2 scheduled a full plan of care. And so that can happen. And that happened primarily because it was presenting like we present in PT school, and not knowing what to say once people are in the room. They don't really care how smart we are. They just, they care about us answering the question, can we really help them? And is this really going to work for me? The next one is what I actually did. So I used to do these really ugly goldenrod inserts. Goldenrod is a color. It's a hideous yellow. And so I used to do an insert in our local Patriot News, and the readership died. So we went from a high in 2009, in August of 2009, of 48 people register from that newspaper insert, and we actually hit a low of 0, where I had 2 people register and neither showed up. And I was doing the same exact thing the entire time. So it died. And I didn't know that market message media triangle yet. And what I did was really costly. I went back and, it cost me over 7 figures total bottom line income. But I ended up abandoning the workshop at one point. And then I just learned the market message media match, and then I had the wrong media, and then I changed my media, and then we went through the roof again. So this can be prevented if you know how to use this postcard scientifically. So here's what I have for you right now, the new workshop offer. So it's the actual postcard and print ad that I use for attracting people to workshops. You're going to use this copyright free, and you can use it in any postcard or print ad format that you'd like to do. I'm also going to include a bonus of a 1-hour tutorial, which is entirely new, how to use the postcard to get the most full plans of care. I do a 2-step process. The first one involves Everydoor direct mail. The second one involves how you take the respondents from Everydoor direct mail and then go out to a direct mail broker or a list broker. I use InfoUSA, but I walk you through that process, that 2-step process. So you have a really nice tight list of people to market to in the general public, and that you're not mailing out to every single person on a postal route month after month after month. Bonus number 2 is a differential diagnosis call for your marketing. And the result of that is a custom marketing blueprint. And what this is that most practices that I've worked with and most private practice owners I've talked with, there's 6 steps. I shared with you earlier that most practice owners try to create all the profitability in their business within step number 3, which is the core service. They have no lead magnet tripwire up front. So the person walks in, the new patient walks in cold. They receive the core service offer on day number 1. That person isn't pre-framed in any way at all. There's been 0 consumption of information, and that person walks in cold. So there's no pre-framing at all. And then there's nothing on the back end. So the person is discharged, and that the patient's forgotten about. And there are 3 important steps there as well. So what we do on the differential diagnosis call is we walk through and we go through each of the 6 steps and how you can tighten your funnel before you go out and make the huge mistake of just buying a lot of traffic and pulling it in. Because if you don't patch up your funnel first and you don't tighten your funnel, you can end up wasting your money on a lot of marketing and buying traffic coming in and saying, hey, that didn't work for me. Where if your funnel is super tight, you have a lot better response on the back end of the marketing that you do. So it's a really important part. And how this came about was I just worked with way too many owners that perceived that their funnel was really tight. They attracted a lot of business in, and we found out really quickly that they were losing money in way too many places. So it's something that I want to give to you, and it's for no cost at all. It's a bonus. So the total value of this package is $803, and you can see why it's a good deal at $597 or $497 is what we had it listed for. But because you're a private practice owner, and by the way, really quick, if you've already purchased the postcard ahead of time, so I reward owners who take fast action. Everybody who registered for this should have gotten an offer for the postcard. I'll include both the tutorial and the differential diagnosis call and custom marketing blueprint absolutely free. So again, I reward owners who take fast action, but you can get started today for just $19. And what you can do is just go to the link is breakthroughptmarketing.com/workshop-pack. There you can see the first ad that we ever ran for the back pain and sciatica workshop, but it's how to incorporate that into a local paper, which again, Tom Delonzo Baker and I were talking about before this call, but we fit it in with the rest of the paper. That is truly a half-page ad. I believe it's total of whatever 8.5 by 11 square inches comes out to be. But you can go there, breakthroughptmarketing.com/workshop-pack. I believe Carl will post it in the chat box or the questions box, probably the chat, so they can see that, Carl. Post the link, so $19. And so a little confession here. So why so much for $19? In full disclosure and in the interest of complete transparency, you know that I teach a killer marketing course, and this is how I find most of the killer marketing owners that we work with. And as I was talking with Tom earlier today, where we said we should have recorded the call, but because we shared some really good stuff in there, but I'm getting a little picky about the type of owners that we work with, and I have 5 clinical predictor rules. So, I mean, this is basically if we can see somebody can apply the workshop and get a result out of it, that's somebody who's going to take the other information that I have to share, the really cool stuff in the killer marketing course, and go do crazy well with it. So there are things that I'm looking for as well. And just a really quick aside, this is an email I got a month or two ago from a Killer Marketing 2.0 owner. Is from Derek. Thanks again for everything you are doing. Just to give you a quick update, we are up to 472 patient visits per month right now, up from 120 in October 2014 before starting some killer marketing materials. Crazy and amazing. Thanks for your help and support in this process. Derek in Louisiana. Now there's a big secret. Just like the workshop demo, I cherry pick. So, you can see what the killer marketing course does, which is really, really cool. But again, I'm picky and I'm only working with certain private practice owners. I do have 5 clinical predictor rules, and I like to work with Derek's. Or I know we recognized Andrew for being on earlier. Andrew, awesome business owner, can implement, has great staff to implement as well. And the thing that you're not seeing with Derek is that he completely rearranged his life, quadrupled his practice in 10 months. But started getting up at 5:30, studied for an hour every day, did whatever it was willing to take. Amazing study ethic, amazing work ethic, just like Andrew, and implemented and got stuff done, put things into action. So that's the big secret. So now you have 2 choices. First option is do nothing and not take this leap of faith, which is 100% risk-free. The second option is make a small investment in your private practice today, compared to all the value you'll get in return, and just give it a shot. So if it works, great. If not, just ask for your money back and you'll get it. So 90-day money back guarantee, sign up today. If you don't like it for any reason, and I don't care if it's 89 days, 23 hours, 59 minutes from now, just let me know and we'll give you your money back. Again, the link is breakthroughptmarketing.com/workshop-pack. And if you're anything like I was early in my private practice career, anytime that I would see something new and be in at least this situation, this is what I would think. I just want to try this and make sure it works first. I don't want to do anything else. So I have a $100 guarantee to you. If you buy the workshop, by the way, this would be like an amazing slot machine. Like if you knew that you could stick $19 in and get $100 back every time, that'd be absolutely amazing. But I think the true value is buy the $19 package, get the workshop material, run with it. Do the differential diagnosis call and go through the other bonus material. If for any reason you're not satisfied and you think this was a waste of your time, I'll mail you a $100 bill. So I'm not sure I can give you a better guarantee than that, but that's what I'm willing to do. And the real question is it worth investing a few minutes of your time to check this out? Which, if it does even half of what I've claimed today on this webinar, it would pay for itself within your first workshop. And again, there's the link. And the tale of two people. So I know some of you follow my blog and read my blog on a consistent basis, and you might have heard the one about where I was the scapegoat for Christmas. My wife and I, it was my first profitable year ever. We had like 40, or not first profitable year ever. It was my most profitable year ever. And we actually had a reserve of like $40,000 that my wife and I were super excited about. And this is like 8-9 months into the year. So like right about this time. And we said, hey, it'd be really cool if we took like 10 grand and went to the beach and just bought leased or rented a beach house for a couple weeks and took our families down. And your family can come down one week, my family will come down the next. And my wife and I were like, you can't tell anybody. Well, like 24 hours later, we both told. Well, what happened that year? This was 2007. I ended up losing 44 grand in that fourth quarter, and it wiped out our reserve account. And we went from 154, 156 new patients in a month, which was October. We did 106 in November, 66 in December. Completely annihilated our business, and I was a real scapegoat, super stressed out. I was the guy on the left, didn't know what to do, didn't know how to control my new patients. And then the picture on the right is this year, and I'll show you the actual beach house and what we did here. Yeah, this was for some other work that we were doing, and we have a picture of me jumping at the beach because we actually did get the beach house. So the new workshop offer, just to reiterate once again, is the actual postcard and print ad that I use for attracting people to workshops, and you get that copyright free. You get bonus number 1 is the 1-hour tutorial of how to use the postcard to get the most full plans of care. That's that valuable 2-step process of how to create a list scientifically so that you're getting the most out of the greatest return on your investment. Bonus number 2 is the differential diagnosis for your marketing call and the resulting custom marketing blueprint for your private practice. Total value $803. And again, just to reiterate some value in the differential diagnosis call and the resulting custom marketing blueprint. If you've ever seen my 4 levels of private practice PT, the minor leaguer is the person who's just in. So you can kind of put yourself, identify with one of these and see where you're at. So the minor leaguer, that's the person who, the new practice owner who's just in business. Maybe they're only in a year or two. They're really proud to be an owner. And write owner, but their marketing is limited to maybe like business cards and T-shirts or a couple doctor lunches, dropping off script pads, things like that. And as we progress up to the major league marketing level, this is the owner who basically still is their business. They're really, really busy, usually making decent money, so usually a couple $100,000 a year, but they can't step away from their business. They have a push to automate their business. They know they need systems, but those systems aren't in place yet. And then the all-star marketer uses direct response marketing and has systems in place. So this is, I took this from, you can tell it's very high tech here, but this is a drawing that I actually have hanging in my office, which is the all-star marketer. And it's the 30 systems that we're using here within our practice. And then beyond that, and this is like beyond even where I'm at, if I can be humble about this, but and when I talk with owners who talk about like advocacy and leaving a legacy and leaving their stamp on the industry, they tend to view things a little bit different. Like it's beyond systems. Yeah, the systems are in place, they're working. I can step away from my practice. I've made more money than I'm ever going to need, but now I want to leave my mark. And it actually goes back, it reverts back to that funnel, which is how can we do the greatest good for the greatest number of people? And they tend to think like this. It's very rare within our industry, but they're out there and it's super cool. So that's another reason with the differential diagnosis call, you get to see where you're at now and the steps that you need to take in the custom marketing blueprint to get to the level that you want to be. So help for you to get to the next level, we do have the Killer Marketing Training, which I spoke about already. This would be the 4th generation now. We do a larger program called 24 Months to All-Star, which is exactly as what it says, 24 months. And then we also have a Tammy done for you. By the way, my internal marketing person's name is Tammy, so that's where the program got its original name. But imagine what it will be like when you're in control of your new patient flow. Reason number 1 is, tomorrow, will your income still be relying on physician referrals, or will you be picking the clients that you work with? Reason number 2, will you have control of your new patients, your income, and your private practice, or are you still going to have the knot in your stomach? And just to give you an idea of like how powerful this can be, we did more promotion last month than we had ever done for any workshop, and we've grown that. I show you how to do that in the tutorial. But we ended up creating a 3-week backlog for new patients. And, we're seeing 500 visits a week. We had, I think the 1 week, we ended up with like 38 new patients that we were able to get in, but it was taking people like 2 or 3 weeks to get in. And they were comfortable waiting because they had consumed our information. They knew what they were going to get, and they didn't want to go somewhere else. But that's the type of control that we're talking about here, and you can have that same control. No, yeah, the beach house. So I'm nothing special. I'm not a polished speaker. I'm not the best technical PT. If the polished speaker, I've said and ah a lot the whole time throughout this process. If you have 1 certification, you have more than I do. I only have a master's degree. We have 7 DPTs who are employed here. They all have more education than I have, so I'm not the best technical PT. Again, if you have 1 certification, that's 1 more than I have. My bottom teeth are crooked because I didn't wear my retainers when I was 14. After I got my braces off, my hairline is receding and graying, and my brother reminds me about it all the time. I have a central Pennsylvania accent, whereas we like to call it a central Pennsylvania hick accent, but I can take action. And the big thing is, so can you. So we'll open this up right now for, let's go back to the offer here. We'll open this right up for Q&A. Are you on, Carl?
Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, so we'll go through some questions here. Just want to make sure you guys all got the link in case you need it. If you click on the chat box, it's in there, and I can send it out one more time. If you want to take us up on the offer, we've had a bunch of people do it already, so yeah, thank you guys for that, and we'll start answering questions. Oh, and again, if you're one of those people who bought the postcard that you had an option to do when you registered already, all you have to do is shoot me an email, and we'll make sure you get the access to the tutorial that we just talked about and your differential diagnosis if you didn't do that yet. So to do that, all you have to do is email me at carl@breakthroughptmarketing.com, and I'm going to send that over to you now. So yeah, if you click on the chat box, you can see that. Now I'll just go to questions. We have a ton, so we're not going to get through them all, I don't think. But I will start to work through these. A lot of these are. They wanted to see a sample of your ad, Chad. Someone asked to see a sample of your ad. I think you might have shown that already, but maybe go ahead and show it again.
I showed one, and then I'll just show you. So this is the first time we've been in this other paper. It's a little bit different format. They messed it up a little bit, but you should be able to see on the screenshot. They put it in the sports section. This is a small weekly paper in an area called Middletown, which is famous for the TMI incident, the near nuclear meltdown in 1979. So
yeah, and that question came from Susan Bray, so thanks for that, Susan. And again, yeah, that's the copy of the ad that you get if you buy the workshop pack. So you're good there. She also asked, are your ads mostly effective or mailers for your 45 to 65-year-olds.
Yeah. So,
I think she's asking which is more effective
here's the
for
deal.
that audience.
Yep. Susan, you're going to want to test that. So, like we've seen, so at Gilbert PT, the only thing that they ran were postcards, and they had 34 people register. I don't get nearly the response that Mike gets, and he's less than a half hour away from me. So, yeah, you're going to want to test it. We do much better with a few small local papers that don't even exist where Gilbert Physical Therapy is. So, yeah, we have found, for me, it's print ads. For Mike, less than 30 minutes away, it's postcards. And but again, you want to test. The other thing that I'll see owners make the mistake of is they find something that works, that attracts patients, and they abandon that to go to a different media. And really what should happen, I talk about this in the tutorial, is you should stack. So if you get a result out of the newspaper, or get a result out of the postcard like we did initially, then we go to test one newspaper the second month and we get a better response. Then we go to test two newspapers plus the postcard in month number 3, and we just kept getting a bigger and bigger show up rate and more effective return on our income. So it's something that you want to test, and I'll show you how to do that in the tutorial.
Cool. So is the postcard offer I purchased before the webinar? Okay, so Janet's just asking if it's the same offer that's here. It's not the same offer, Janet, but you get that because you did buy the postcard. Janet, you'll just need to email me if you haven't scheduled and gotten your tutorial already, because we want to make sure you get the tutorial and your differential diagnosis call as well. So Janet, email me at carl@breakthroughptmarketing.com. If you're looking for the spelling for that, you can go into the chat log and look at that there. So thanks, Janet. How do people RSVP for your workshops? This is from Alicia.
Yeah. So right now, not very sophisticated. We just have them call and register. They call a dedicated line, which for us, there's a couple different ways that you can do it, but for us, we just keep it really simple. Our external marketing staff member, they just call her dedicated line and leave a message to register. And then this is also key. There's a confirmation pack mailed with the workshop worksheet mailed to that person. So they call to register, and then there's a little welcome letter with the worksheet that's mailed out to that person right away. You can get more sophisticated than that, but we just keep it simple right now.
Sorry, just going through here. This one is from John. He's asking if you, Chad, are the only PT doing the workshops, or do you rotate the staff through? If you are the only one, don't the attendees only want to see you? So it's a really common question.
Yep. Yeah. So we hear this all the time. This may be shocking, but I rarely treat. I only do fill-in, and we have another full-time therapist starting that just moved back to the area from, he was at USC on faculty, and yeah, so now we'll be filling his schedule as well. So I'll be treating very little, unless it's like the Kentucky couple flying in. But yeah, our staff is trained to route people to the other therapist. And also the thing that I'm doing during the workshop is I'm edifying all of our other therapists. So I'm flowing power to them, saying how great they are. That, you know, we have 300 testimonials hanging all over our clinic, and I think I'm on 4 or 5. So it's you know, people get the picture that you know, that I'm not available and that they want to schedule with, you know, Joe, the clinical director, or Dan, Andrew, Kelsey, Charlie, Mike, who are all team leaders as well. So I'm edifying them the whole way through the process. But again, a really common problem. You can, if you do nothing about it, you're gonna have to answer for that a lot. But if you plant that seed during the workshop, it's not really a big deal.
Cool. We have Elaine asking about the offer. How much for everything? The postcards, the print ads, the worksheets, the trainings, the differential diagnosis, etc.
$19.
Yeah, yeah, it's $19. We used to sell this for a lot more, Elaine, and we may do that in the future again. We just have had a lot of people with a lot of success with this, and we want to help them out. And we're not offering our entire workshop training, which is only if you're part of Killer Marketing, which is a lot more involved and detailed. But this is definitely enough to get you started, and it's only $19.
Yeah, again, Elaine, if you weren't on for that point, we used to offer a workshop pack for $4.97, and we kind of got in hot water from a couple of owners who, even though they get a lot of other services, so like we were writing a patient newsletter for them and offer physician newsletter for them, getting access to calls where I'm on live with an expert or where I'm doing a live Q&A call. We had all this other stuff in there, and their cost was more than $4.97, and they were upset that we were selling it for $4.97. So we just had to take that off. We created a new workshop offer with the nuts and bolts of how you can run your own workshop, and we've had people take this and do really well with it. So that's the explanation for that. But we went crazy low on the offer, $19.
Cool. She said, "Really?" All caps. Yes, Elaine, go for it. We're excited to offer this to you. One more question is another question we get all the time. What are your biggest lessons learned, or like what are the biggest things that you? Sorry, having trouble reading this one. What are the like biggest mistakes you've made, and what are the biggest lessons learned, like good things that you've discovered, Chad?
Yeah, so the biggest mistakes, that market message media match in there, like literally I abandoned doing the workshops, just because I didn't understand how the market was changing, and I didn't know what to do about it until I stumbled on that market message media match, and I realized that I had the right market, I had the right message, but I was using the wrong media. And then I just changed that, and then we started filling the room again. I knew I could convert that once people were in the room. I knew how to convert them over to a paying patient, but I didn't know how to fill the room anymore. So that was a really big mistake, and I completely abandoned that for like 3 years before I started doing it again. And it's because our physician numbers had crashed so much. So we went from a high of 154 physician referrals, and this year we hit a low of 30. So, our physician referrals have been rocked because of the hospital systems again, and POPs practices by 80%. Yet we're busier than we've ever been before because we're attracting a better, more compliant patient who's more willing to pay for our services, and we get 90 patients a month via direct access, which I shared with you before as well. So the big mistake in all that, the big lesson learned was like abandoning something and saying this isn't working for me, rather than just changing one little thing, which just happened to be media. The other big lessons learned are, again, like the worksheet. that in itself is crazy valuable. Like having people fill out a worksheet as you're going through, like mailing them a blank worksheet with your 3 big points on is key. And because it creates a mystery, they're more likely to attend, they're more likely to show up and fill out the worksheet. And then the other big thing, and I just did a podcast with Paul Wright. He's the Australian physio, and he has a podcast, and he asked me the same question, and I said, well, like no physical therapist works on their clothes. Like they're not smooth at all, but like there has to be a transition point, and I just don't want people coming up afterwards and saying, hey, that was really interesting. I'll think about scheduling an appointment. Like I roll it right over into an offer. And what I say at the bottom of my worksheet is, hey, by the way, if you showed up, if you've raised your hand, you've registered for the workshop, you've indicated that you have back pain and sciatica, you showed up here, you saw the interaction, you saw me treat somebody. Now, I really don't I usually don't offer free screenings to the general public. We only do that for past patients. So right away, it's like you're on the outside. We have thousands of people here on the inside. But here's what I'll do is I'll give you a 1-day offer. If you filled out your sheet and you want a free screening to see the exact cause of your back pain and sciatica, I'll let you sign up today and we'll do a free screening. Now, what that is a 15-minute to 30-minute appointment where we go through testing to determine, and you're going to see one of our doctors of PT here, so I go through that edifying process. And what the end result of that will be is you'll know the exact cause of your back pain and sciatica, and they'll show you what successful treatment looks like. And that's where you see like people just go run to schedule right away. Now, here's a little trick that we've learned. If you only have a couple people scheduling, you want to organize that. So you want to plan for an overflow. And last time we had 3 receptionists here who were all scheduling. I think it was either 14 or 16 people scheduled same day. And then we just created a little express checkout sheet. And I just said, okay, so now rather than everybody run over to the checkout desk right now, here's what I need to keep this orderly. So I'm going to hang around here for Q&A, but what I want you to do is if you're in severe pain and you want to be seen as soon as possible, raise your hand. And all those people raise their hand, and that's who I sent over to the checkout windows. So those 14 people went and scheduled right now. Now, if you can wait a day or two, here's what you do. So we have an express checkout sheet. They fill out their name, best phone number to reach them at, best time to call them either today or the next day. And then it gave our receptionist time to follow up with them. And that's how we ended up scheduling 31 of the people in the room. But you want to be prepared for that. So practice your close. It should be really smooth and flowing and make sense with what you've said. And then also have a way where you can schedule people really, really quick.
Yeah, those are good points. I'm going to unmute Tom right now. We should have done this before. Unless you can. Oh, Tom, are you there?
I muted myself.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I just figured let you on. So I wanted to mention one more thing. I've got a ton of emails from people who have more questions, and the reality is there's no way we're going to get through them all. And also, I do have emails from people. I'm seeing them come in for people who already purchased the postcard and who do want to schedule their differential diagnosis and get everything else. I promise as soon as this is over, I'm going to go through all my email and respond to you, but I've got probably 25, 30 emails that just came in from this, so it's going to take me a little bit of time, and I've got a lot to juggle at once, so please bear with me. Anyway, I'll let Tom, if you have any questions or anything, or if we want to unmute anybody else and see if we can turn on other webcams. I think we can. I'm not sure exactly how we can try to do that. And Chad, you still have to do your tour of the office. One person also asked if they wanted the tour of the office. So I don't know if you want to talk to Tom first, or you want to do that first, or how you want to do this, but I'll let you guys take it.
Yeah, really quick. What I can do on the questions, if I know we still have questions coming through the log here and then also in the email as well. I'll record a video asking or answering the other questions.
Okay. Yeah,
Cool.
the next one is the worksheet included with the $19. I don't know, is it, Chad?
No, we got in trouble for that. Yeah, so I can give you really big points. The 3 big points of my workshop are the what causes back pain and sciatica, which for me it's herniated disc, um, stenosis, arthritis, disc degeneration is number 2, and 3 is SI joint. The second big point is there are 3 things you can do about it. You can ignore it, try to change or alter it, or handle it. So ignore it is make excuses, change or alter it are medications, injections, surgery. Handle it would be physical therapy. And then the big point number 3 is what does successful treatment look like? And for me, it's corrective exercise, which is, we have Tom Owen here, so he's the king of corrective exercise. And I mean, that's it for me. So we show them that corrective exercise, manual therapy, and then occasionally, if the person meets certain clinical predictor rules, traction. But that I just verbally gave you my worksheet, so hopefully that helps you out. But you want to have 3 big points.
Yeah, I wanted to throw one thing is about something called the essential few versus the trivial many. And what I'll say about what the workshops and marketing to them have done for me is it's taken, you guys who know TMR, I took 8 billion exercises and took it down to the FAB 6. Right? And when I was looking for a marketing purpose, I wanted something that I could get my whole group of people, my whole staff focused on. So like he said, when he goes at the end of his workshop in September and he says, now it's time to start marketing to October, that's the focus that's happening within this whole place. And he's really focusing. I know he's got other things, but this is, I believe, you correct me if I'm wrong, Chad, this is the big thing, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, this is our driver. Specifically on the front end, Tom. So like we get a ton of reactivated patients, referrals from other patients, and that's where we're averaging over 90 a month. But that's like back end funnel. This is all front end funnel, and this is our big effort. It's one big event a month, drive everybody to it, and then convert. You got it.
You guys think about external marketing, right? Think about the essential few that he's doing here. He's doing workshops. Right now, the back end stuff he's talking about is another part of your funnel. But I've always said, hey, it'd be really cool to be at my clinic and basically draw people in without having to go out and see doctors and stuff. And basically, you know, you sit up there with his postcard and his newspaper ad. That's pretty much what you're doing. So those of you who say, oh, I hate going out to doctors, right? So what is it else you're doing? So just a little plug there. It's the difference between essential few. And then just trivial many. It seemed like there was a time that I'd try this, and I'd try that, and I'd try this, and try that. So to be able to follow somebody who's already doing it and just kind of cut and paste and copy for $19 ridiculous, that's pretty crazy.
It is crazy. Yeah, let's do a walkthrough here, man. Oh, we have silver sneakers. This is going to be good. Hey, so yeah, you can see we have testimonials hanging everywhere. Here, we'll take a peek in. This is Tammy's real office. You can see we have something kind of unique, which is about 300 exercise cards. Everybody who comes in gets a little exercise carabiner. You can see it back here. They get a therapist card, then they get custom full color home exercise ring. This is our silver sneakers group hanging out. And then this is our workshop room. So you can see how we're set up here. So I'll show you up front here. We have a whiteboard with question of the day, which planet rotates clockwise? Do you know the answer to that one, Tom?
What does it say?
Which planet rotates? This is horrible because I don't know the answer. Which planet rotates clockwise? Pluto, Venus,
I have no clue.
Uranus, Mercury. Yeah, so that's the question of the day.
Oh, what else? No, I don't know.
But you can see we have a ton of testimonials hanging up. We clear all the treatment tables out here, and then you can see This is the same exact room that I did the workshop in before. Out here, you can see pretty basic gym. We just have a ton of tables, and they are jamming in the Silver Sneakers Tuesday afternoon class. So yeah, that's our setup. All right.
All right, while you're there, I'm going to throw out a couple more questions. Susan Bray asks, what's your blog? Susan, you can get to the blog at breakthroughptmarketing.com/blog. Yeah, I'll put that link in too. But if you just go to breakthroughptmarketing.com, I mean, you can click on blog and find it. Susan Bray, yes. Also, the worksheets, the patients fill those out. Tony asks, what's the best day and time you've found for workshops?
Really good question. We have tested Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday evening, and we've also tested Saturday morning. So I've tested 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m., and then 10 a.m., 9 a.m., noon on Saturday. And our winner is 10 a.m. Saturday morning. So I wouldn't use my results. I would test that for yourself. Tom, what are you doing? What does Tom do?
Tom, you there? You might have muted.
Sorry, I had myself muted.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had myself muted. We've been doing Thursday evenings at 6:30.
There you go. Test it for your area.
That's always the case. I mean, I run a lot of webinars like this, a very similar thing, and I've tested tons of times, and yeah, we know what works because we test. So you just have to try and see what you get the best show up rate for. And again, just so you remember this, the tip Chad shared on the workshop, the worksheet is something that really gets people to show up. You mail it to the people who register. They see the blanks and the stuff that they need to learn, and it'll be a good driver to get them to show up as well. It'll increase your show up rate.
By the way, we just did that. Just full disclosure. That's we have a worksheet for this webinar. Yes, we do it here as well, but it's effective and it works.
Yeah. Let me see if there's anything else. Cool. I do have more in my email, but honestly, it's too much of a bear to tackle. So I think we should wrap up unless you guys want to, unless you, Tom, and you guys have anything else. We still have 25 people on or whatever. Most have left by now, but yeah. Do you guys have any last thoughts or anything you want to share before we wrap up here?
Tom, I would love for you to touch base on the 3 pillars of marketing, because I think that's I think it's key, and I think it's what a lot of us overlook. You and I have been in the game for a while, and we've been beat up enough that we got to the point where we knew what we didn't know. But I think that's key.
Well,
so if you could touch base on that, that'd be great.
With all the stuff I've taken and what you end up going through is going down to, again, I'm trying to get to the essential few so that we can run with things and help each other as far as my staff goes. And as I now talk to owners, again, with my clinic packages from TMR, right, I'm obviously doing their ideal situation or their current situation. And the big thing that always seems to run into is there's 3 issues they have. There's 3 pillars, as we say, and that you want to strengthen. And the one is marketing. All right. The second one is the administrative and your quality control. All right, and the last one is your we call it Division 4, but there's a reason behind that. It's your PT department, that who is providing your service. You take those 3 and you get those cemented down and continue to work on just those 3. That's the big driving force, all right? And I will say that marketing, obviously, because we need patients through the door, is the first one that has to be handled, and Chad then talked about. But if you don't have the other two handled, that what you're bringing in through just comes pouring out the bottom. And you have people that all of a sudden are coming for 4 to 5 visits when they should be here 10 to 14 visits or something, or they're not satisfied, and you go to advertise another workshop for your prior patients, and nobody shows up and things like that. So there's a ways, I know from my standpoint, when I was beginning to tackle all this, I didn't realize, I'm going to give you an example. So we tracked our graduation rate, which is our discharge rate, the numbers that actually came for their scheduled amount of visits. When we first tracked that 10 years ago, I couldn't believe it, because most people, even when I ask them in the seminars, they'll say, oh, about 75% of my people are completing. And when we tracked ours, 33% were actually completing where we wanted them to. And within 2 months, we brought it up to 50%. And now we sit with a high criteria up to like 72 or 75%. So again, 3 pillars of marketing are those 3 that really have to be driven. And I always say, go somewhere where you can have central few, that somebody's really hammering home a process so you can get that one down, and then go to something else. And I think that's what you've got sitting here with the workshop.
Cool, man. Thanks, Tom.
My buddy.
Nailed it.
Oh, and I want to plug one thing. You're never going to find Carl and Chad, and I know Josh, they're like salted earth people and stuff. So when I met them up the first time and all, that's what was attracted to me about them. So they're as helpful as what you see. Those of you guys who know me that will come up and say that, hey, Tom, you're one of the most giving people. Well, that's what I like about Chad and Carl.
Thanks a lot, Tom. That means a lot, man.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, serious.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks everybody for being on. If you have not checked out TMR, I'm not sure what you're doing, but very real. Again, I'll share exactly what we're doing in the trenches. Evidence-based practice, back it up with TMR. It's a 1-2 punch that you can't beat. And I know Tom and I have talked about this as well. There's a book, popular New York Times best-selling book, where they share a 5-step process and how to handle injuries. Step number 1 is corrective movement. Step number 2 is manual therapy, or I think he calls it mobilization, which includes traction as well. And it's medication, injection, surgery. As physical therapists, we need to stick together. We represent the top 2, and the more therapists that we have that are doing TMR and are correcting and are getting excellent outcomes that TMR offers, almost miraculous. Sometimes I think it's ridiculous that somebody raises their arm and then all of a sudden can do a squat, but it works. It's something for you to take a look at, apply to your practice, and get really good outcomes, because it makes your marketing pop that much better when you're getting those almost miraculous outcomes, and it will help you grow your practice as well. You'll create a buzz. So we've used that now. I think it's been 7 or 8 years that we've implemented TMR in our practice. I highly recommend you do the same thing.
Hey, buddy, I got to run to another conference call, so thanks for having me on, and enjoy that. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks. I think we're good here. We'll talk to you guys later.
All right. See ya.
See ya.